And hello again. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. What do they say? The best laid plans. We're going to stay with our original plans today, but we're just going to add a little bit of a discussion about a horrific tragedy. I'm sure you've heard of it by now. Our plan was to talk to some of you green Catholics about Pope Francis's new eco-encyclical, and we are going to talk about that on the program here today. It's certainly making news headlines, and as always, it's important that we understand what our Holy Father is saying from a Catholic perspective, not let the secular mainstream media hijack a message or pervert it or twist it or what have you. But speaking of perverted and twisted, we have, of course, the young man, unfortunate young man who shot and killed 9 people last night at a prayer service of all places in South Carolina. He actually sat with the group for about an hour, apparently praying with them. All of a sudden, opened fire. He has been apprehended. Debbie Georgiani, we greet our listeners here this morning. It was going to be much more of an upbeat note, talking about a brand new encyclical. We will talk. First, we've got this heavy burden, too, that is on the hearts of a lot of people.
I was just going to share, Jerry, that my heart is so heavy this morning to wake up and to hear that 9 people have passed in Charleston, South Carolina. Absolutely tragic. And to know that the pastor was killed as well, and he's a father of two children. I mean, this is a very sad day in our country, and my heart just goes out to the people of South Carolina.
Well, we invite you, our listeners, as always. This is your show. Take Two is where we look again at the things in the world around us. We look again at ourselves. And so our phone lines are open for you if you'd like to comment, ask a question, make a contribution to our discussion about this in South Carolina, or we can entertain your calls and questions about the new encyclical. It's Praise Be to God is the title of that, and the subtitle of Pope Francis's document is On Care for Our Common Home. He has a lot of very provocative things to say in there. So either of these topics you are welcome to weigh in on with your takes at 1-800-585-9396, 800-585-9396. In the second segment today, Debbie and I will welcome Jimmy Aiken of Catholic Answers, who will weigh in on the encyclical question. But, Deb, I know we wanted to start here first this morning just by taking a second look, if we can put it that way. It's so fresh right now. The South Carolina event is so raw. A lot of details are coming out right now that I think are starting to paint a picture of what happened and who this young man was.
21 years old. They caught him. His name is Dylan Roof. And he, like a lot of reports coming out, they're unconfirmed, obviously, until, they can really get all the facts together. But they're flooding all over the internet. And he apparently went in, like Jerry said, went into this Bible study prayer meeting at the Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina, and he sat with them, and then he made a statement that he wanted to get rid of everyone, and he opened fire with a .45 caliber pistol and shot and killed the majority of the people. I guess a few was able to get out alive, and I guess one child. I just read online that one child, the grandmother told her to play dead, and she made it out alive. So thank God for that. But the pastor was killed. He was a state senator, and he's been described as a kind-hearted man. Like we said earlier, he's the father of 2. I mean, this is just going to be a horrible Father's Day weekend, and my heart just bleeds for the families. And prayers are very much obviously needed for the victims and their families. This is just tragic. And now this 21-year-old has been caught and coming out about what his life was about. So this story is just unfolding, and it's very tragic all the way around.
And this is one of the reasons for this show, dear listeners. We call it Take Two. We like to look again, take a fresh look. As Debbie mentioned, the killer has been apprehended, 21 years old. Can you imagine his whole life ahead of him. And certainly troubled. There had to be a lot of things in his family, in his background, and we're not here to criticize. But one of the things, Debbie, we want to do on this show is I think it's vital that we look at circumstances, take that fresh look, because oftentimes the mainstream media will not do that. They'll say, well, it's this, it's this, it's this. But if you dig a little bit deeper, and I know some of the things that you've uncovered, Debbie, are very telling in this situation.
Well, yeah, and like I said, the reports are coming out on the internet. We know that some may be confirmed, some unconfirmed, so we have to be very careful of what is reported. But if you look at what's floating on the internet, I mean, there's statements from this Dylan's uncle that is saying that this boy was in trouble with drugs prior to this shooting. He had made statements against other, races. He had his dad provided him a .45 caliber pistol for his 21st birthday. That there's, you can kind of maybe lines. I mean, it said that they went over to his mother's house. So does that mean that the mom and dad aren't married? So there's a lot happening here. And then also on his Facebook. If you go to his Facebook, I mean, I think there's like 89 friends he had. He's, it didn't seem like an over-popular Facebook. But the one thing, Jerry, I just want to add, there was one post that came in on his Facebook, and somebody very beautifully and very Christian left a post saying, please give yourself up, please repent, please turn yourself over to Jesus. We don't hate you. We want you to really, obviously you're troubled. I mean, I thought that was a very kind post considering what this young man has done. And it's troubling. It is. I have two grown sons. I can't even imagine. I mean, him being 21 years old, he really is still somewhat of a baby. And that just messes with my brain.
All right. Much more on that unfolding story here on Take Two with on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. We have a few minutes before we take our first break, and right after the first break, we'll have Jimmy Akin, Senior Apologist at Catholic Answers, joining us to talk about the new encyclical just released by Pope Francis. It's called, it's Laudato Si, or Praise Be to You, on care for our common home. And Debbie, this is certainly a different tone as we shift gears here, but our Holy Father, he doesn't really hold back. He's very candid in how he presents things, and he's not afraid to kind of name culprits, if you will, of the state that the earth is in, that we live in right now. But it's a unique document. It's a very unusual for a pope to come out with something like this.
I agree. Pope Francis is so bold, and he challenges all of us, the lay people, but especially he's challenging the leadership of our world. And I think that's just so courageous of him, and such a great leader. And I actually I read 1/3 of the encyclical so far. It's over 100 pages, and it's amazing. I love it. It starts off very Franciscan, ends very Franciscan. I mean, that's our Pope, and how amazing is that? I just there's a lot to learn. I encourage everyone to read it. It's a good read.
Yeah, in typical Pope Francis fashion, said Debbie, he challenges leadership, but he really lays this out for everyone. This is for all peoples, all nations, all races. It's kind of a rallying cry. Because the world, Pope Francis doesn't shy away from looking at many of the problems, the deterioration of the world, things that are going on, the throwaway culture as he talks about it. But I think this is a gift, Debbie. If the world will embrace this, and that's really the $64,000 question, will the world embrace a document like this from the leader of the Catholic Church? I think it could have incredibly positive ramifications.
I agree, and I believe that a lot of conversations are going to be happening all over the world, and that's a great thing. And I do believe this is a time for us as Catholic Christians to be proud, really proud. Our Holy Father stepped out, and he has made some bold statements, and I think it's our time to band together and to really keep the conversation going. I'm excited to see what Jimmy Akin or hear Jimmy Akin and hear what he has to say about it, and I'm excited to also hear about what our listeners have to say on both because we have such a tragic topic on one hand, and then we have this beautiful kind of hope for the future if we listen to our Pope on the other hand. So this is an exciting talk today. It's going to benefit all of us. It's at least going to make us more prayerful and more cognizant of our environment. So I'm ready to go when you are.
Well, you are a mind reader. Going into the break, Debbie, I was going to say the one thing we need to do most of all, especially for this young man, really when you talk about there are 9 people killed, they are victims. The 10th and maybe worst off of all victim is the young man who perpetrated these shootings, and he remains alive. He's got to live with this the rest of his life. We pray for the souls of the 9 who died. May they see the beatific face of God right away. And this young man, our prayers as well. Jimmy Akin is on hold. He's standing by. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. We're talking about Praise Be to You, the new eco-encyclical by Pope Francis, released officially today. Also, that sad story about the shootings in South Carolina. Comment on either of those at 1-800-585-9396. Let us hear your take.
The Holy Father's prayer intention for the month of June is that immigrants and refugees may find welcome and respect in the countries to which they come. The mission intention is that the personal encounter with Jesus may arouse in many young people the desire to offer their own lives in priesthood or consecrated life.
You don't have to be Catholic to listen to Catholic radio.
I'm one of many Protestant ministers who have been affected by the teaching of the Catholic Church, and I have studied and read the Catholic and gone to Mass and prayed the Rosary, gone for the Blessed Sacrament, and have come to the point where in my heart I believe fully in the Catholic Church.
Listen and learn daily on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
And here on the on-air program, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN. This is one of the ways that we have a conversation with you. There are many others. You can contact us by email, take2, that's the number 2, take2 at EWTN.com. Share your takes with the world in that manner. And also send out your tweets at Take2Show. Every episode of our program is archived on the website as well, and that is at take2show.com. And, of course, our phone number is 1-800-585-9396, 1-800-585-9396. Deb, you ready for Jimmy Akin on the program?
I am. Is he on?
Oh, he's ready. Jimmy, thanks for joining us from San Diego, senior apologist at Catholic Answers. How are you, Jimmy?
My pleasure. Always great to talk with you, Jerry.
Yeah, it's been too long, and I trust that things are going well with the apostolate there, and we continue to hear good things. So keep up the great work that you're doing, and you are really a go-to, Jimmy, for something like this, the new encyclical by Pope Francis. It's early, it's fresh. You may not have even made your way through all of it yet, I don't know, but from what you've read of it, from what you've read and what you're hearing and your sense of could you kind of just summarize for us what is he trying to do with this encyclical?
Well, he sets forward his goal right at the beginning of the document. Unlike most encyclicals, which are addressed primarily to bishops, but sometimes to other people too, including Catholic lay people, this one isn't. It's addressed to everyone. And he doesn't even single out the bishops. He just says, I want to enter into a dialogue with everybody. And so that's his fundamental goal here, is to have a dialogue with people about the state of the world and what we need to do to care for it. And he's consciously trying to frame that dialogue in a way that it will resonate and be able to engage with people who are not believers. One of the chapters in the encyclical is specifically directed to believers. And he starts out that one by saying, if I'm trying to dialogue with everyone, it could seem a little strange to have a mostly Christian chapter here. But even people who aren't believers can learn something from the Christian point of view specifically. And there can be dialogue religiously there as well. And I think part of what he's doing, even though he doesn't say it in exactly this way, is I think he's using this not just as an occasion to talk about the environment and the need to care for everything in the environment in human beings, but also as an evangelistic opportunity to engage people who normally wouldn't listen to the church and try to expose them to the Christian message as well.
Jimmy, this is Debbie. I wanted to ask you, do you feel that this encyclical is going to have a real, genuine impact on the leadership of the world? Do you think they're really going to take it to heart and use his words wisely?
Nobody ever went broke underestimating the politicians to do the right thing. We'll have to see. I mean, I think it's going to do some good, but I don't think that it's going to, cause the earth to overnight become a magical wonderland because suddenly every politician decides to listen to the voice of the church and do everything the right way.
Jimmy Akin with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. Share with us your takes, your questions on this encyclical, the new document. Francis at 1-800-585-96, 1-800-585-9396. Jimmy, this whole ecology discussion, debate, whatever, it rages even within the church. There are people on all sides. You get to people who are like green, and of course my take is church was the original, or even before the Catholic Church, green was cool because, Jimmy, God created all of this and gave man dominion over the earth. Talk about what dominion means so that we can understand that all people share in that, but it's really God who provides that mandate to us.
It is. This is something, obviously, that comes out right at the beginning of the book of Genesis, where God makes Adam, in other words, the gardener of Eden. And this is something that Pope Francis talks about in the encyclical. He talks about the mandate that God gave man to till and to keep the garden. And he focuses on both of those commands. Tilling it means making it productive. So it doesn't mean just being passive or trying to preserve nature exactly the way it would be if mankind didn't exist. It does mean using nature for our own benefit, but and shaping it, but also the mandate to keep it, something that envisions respect for nature. It's not simply something that we have absolute dominion over. It's only a relative dominion given to us by God, where we have a responsibility for making sure that we maintain nature in a way that does justice to it and isn't purely exploitative.
All right, Jimmy, well, we appreciate your time on the program today. Give our listeners, most of them know about Catholic Answers and all the great work you're doing there, but for the few who don't, to give them a little snapshot of where they can find the fine work that you and your colleagues are doing.
They can find it here on EWTN Radio from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific, or 6 p.m. to 8 tonight. Well, later in the day anyway.
Yeah,
we
every
have
weekday.
Answers live, and also they can go to Catholic.com and learn about all of the work that Catholic Answers does.
All right. Jimmy, thank you. I know our listeners, Catholic radio listeners, are going to be hearing more about this document and its impact from all of you folks at Catholic Answers in the coming days. So thanks for sharing a few minutes with us here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie this morning.
Thank you, Jimmy.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Phone number 1-800-585-9396. Debbie, you want to tag on anything before we go to calls?
I could listen to him forever. He is so brilliant.
And the beard is epic, too, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Great job by Jimmy Akin. Let's go to calls then.
Great
Tom is in Des Moines listening on Iowa Catholic Radio. Tom, we appreciate you joining Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. What's on your mind today?
Well, first of all, that was very good with Jimmy. So, Debbie, I agree with you on that. I heard Pope John Paul II speak when he came to Iowa back in 1979. In his homily at the Mass out in the fields, farm fields here in Iowa, that were called to be good stewards. The thing that is concerning me about this new encyclical by Pope Francis is that it sounds like it's built on, and I'm going to quote from what I see on EWTN's website, very solid scientific consensus indicates that we are presently witnessing a disturbing the climatic system. And my understanding is that there is not a consensus, even though the media presents it that way. And, as an example, 6 out of 10 American weathermen basically don't think that there is dangerous global warming. So I guess as a Catholic, I'm trying to square this with a pope who I really like and hold in high regard, and I take his writing seriously. And I was wondering if you could help us Catholics know how to deal with this when we don't think that there's necessarily a consensus on this subject.
Tom, it's a very important question that you raise. And first of all, I will just echo what you said, that I think once again, Pope Francis is putting comments out there and questions that really, I think, spark debate, that spark discussion. He is certainly controversial at times in what he says, but of course we give him all of the respect that is due to him as our Holy Father, as I'm sure you do too as well. I was thinking of there was an email sent out this morning about this, and it was a summary by Colin Donovan, who is, I believe his title is Vice President of Theology at EWTN. I'm looking for that right now. I'm going to try to pull it up because he addresses this, where he says that the Holy Father does talk about certain phenomena in his document that are factually verifiable and so forth. And then he mentions things, and Colin specifically pointed out the climate change thing that is perhaps a little less set in stone, if you will, and more open to debate. So, Debbie, I don't know if you've got any comments on that. I'm going to try and look for that if you want to share anything with Tom.
Yeah, I actually have it up on the screen of what Colin Donovan said. But let me just share this. I just think it's great that the Holy Father is willing to, like you said, Jerry, put forth these teachings, if you will, because these are teachings to all of us, not just a select group of bishops. This is for all of us to really think about, to pray about, and to come together. And I think he is calling us to have those important conversations so that we do start to act like one body, one group of human beings connected for a greater purpose. And I commend him for taking a stab at it. I think it's very unique, but I love the feel of the encyclical. It's very warm. I mean, he's a very heart pope. And you want to jump in, Jerry? I think you want to jump in.
Nope, just letting you know
okay.
we got a break.
We got a break coming up. Okay, because I could keep talking about this. I love the Holy Father. I got to see him in Italy 2 years ago, and he's so amazing. But anyway, I just think this is a great conversation starter for all of us, from leadership all the way down, for all of us to start having those important conversations.
Yeah, Tom, I don't know if that's helpful. Debbie, you said you had the email there with the comments from.
I just pulled it up. Yeah, we can get it after the break. Yeah. Yeah,
Tom, if you want to hang on, if you need further discussion on that, please do. We are up against the break here, so Tom, hang on. If that was satisfactory for you, feel free to go on your way to what I'm sure is a busy day. We appreciate you calling, but we'll be happy to interact with you again on the other side of the break if you hold on here. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. I know just for me personally, I think there is a ton of propaganda about things like climate change and overpopulation. I think there are agendas behind those. I think that doesn't dismiss us from being responsible and recognizing if there are things like global warming going on and that sort of thing. But I think they're far from scientifically verified, at least at this point. So, Tom, hang on. If you need more time, we'll get to you on the other side of the break. 1-800-585-9396. What's your take?
Hi, this is Joan Lewis. In my work here at the Vatican, I'm blessed to speak with all kinds of people every day, from visitors to Rome, to Vatican officials, even to the Pope. And every week on our EWTN program, Vatican Insider, I'll share their stories with you. We'll bring you the latest news from Rome. We'll talk with Vatican leaders and newsmakers, and we'll answer your questions. So don't miss Vatican Insider this weekend, right here on EWTN Radio Network. For times in your area, go to EWTN.com and click on radio.
Web of Faith 2.0. It's your tried and true source for the interactive answers you need. Father John Trujillo and Father Ken Burganti answer the tough questions from the EWTN.com website.
From philosophy to apologetics to church history, we've heard it all.
But the questions never get old because the truth never gets old.
User-friendly answers in a faith-friendly forum. All new episodes of Web of Faith 2.0 here on the Global WTN.
Whether you're at home, at work, in the car, you can follow what he teaches 24 hours each day. We're EWTN.
And just to let you know, I'm a returning Catholic because of EWTN. Bless you guys and keep it up.
And you're invited to visit our website too. Just log on to www.ewtn. It's www.ewtn.
Get an insider's look at the latest information from EWTN. Sign up for Wings, EWTN's weekly email newsletter. Get the latest information about live events, special features, and guests. Connect with EWTN on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Just go to EWTN.com and click on the Wings link to sign up. Don't miss a minute of all that's happening at EWTN. Get your wings today.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. Follow us on Twitter at Take Two Show, and don't forget our website. You can find it at take2show.com. All of the archived programs are on the website, and you can find them on SoundCloud as well. Thanks for being a listener here today, and thanks for joining us for the broadcast. We are talking about a couple of important topics today. One of them is the tragic shooting deaths of 9 people in South Carolina. We're going to shift to that a little bit later in the program. Up a conversation for the next several minutes on Pope Francis's new encyclical, Praise Be to You, on care for our common home. We've got Tom on the line from Iowa. And Tom, I just want to read what, again, Colin Donovan, Theology at EWTN, said regarding your comments and what may have been a concern regarding what the Pope said. Colin says in one paragraph of his summary, many of the concerns are undisputed, such as pollution through industrial or agricultural activity, deforestation, loss of habitat, etc., with their accompanying impact on all human beings, especially the poor. Others, such as climate change, and he puts that in quotation marks, are more controversial. And he says, while the Holy Father does adopt the consensus opinion of scientists, you are disputing that there's a consensus as a basis of consideration and prudential action in keeping with Catholic teaching on the relation between disciplines such as theology, philosophy, and science. He leaves the empirical debate to the scientists themselves. So I don't know if that adds any clarification or consolation for you there, Tom.
Clarification, and that's helpful because what Pope Francis is doing that's kind of interesting is linking human ecology with natural ecology, but it sounds like he's wanting to use the United Nations, to enforce stuff. There's the quote here is enforceable international agreements that are urgently needed. It's the same United Nations that is really adversarial to the Church on critical social issues like abortion, marriage, and contraception. So he may be trying to attract people in some ways with natural ecology portion of this encyclical, and my concern is empowering the United Nations is maybe a risky proposition.
Well, it very well could be, Tom, and that would be for program or for mine's certainly brighter than mine. I'm not going to speak for Debbie on that.
And mine.
All right, Tom. Bless you. Thanks for calling. All right, 1-800-585-9396, 1-800-585-9396. Next, we're going to go to Catherine in Bethlehem, New York. Catherine, thank you for calling. Take two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
My question is, the media goes crazy over what Pope Francis says and stuff, but it's not like encyclicals are like a new thing. I mean, there's been hundreds, and like Benedict, John Paul II, Paul VI, they've all done it, and the media didn't go crazy. Why are they all attacking Francis?
Wow, that's a really good observation. I mean, my personal opinion on this is that because he is making a really global, if you will, statement about how we need to treat the earth. I mean, he's making a definite religious statement for the whole entire world. He's challenging us. He's asking us to rise up and to be stronger stewards of the gifts that God has given us and this precious earth and how to treat it. And he's really stepping out and being I consider it a bold leader. And I think he's making waves. I mean, he's kind of crossing in. It's so interesting how he travels, because he will make statements and they will cross through everybody's circle. You know, you'll hear politicians comment on him. You'll hear other religious leaders comment on him. I mean, he'll make a simple statement and people just kind of, for some reason, weave that into their conversation. I think he understands that real strong presence he has, and he's very sharp and wise in how he uses his statements. And I really think he truly believes what he is writing in this encyclical. And encyclicals are great teaching tools for all of us, and they help us and they shape us and they form us. This one is you just have to kind of give him an A++ for this, because I think he was brilliant in how he constructed it. Jerry?
Well, Catherine, did you have any? I have a few things I would add to that, but Catherine, any follow-up comment on what Debbie said?
No, that all makes a lot of sense. Obviously, I wasn't exactly, I was quite young when John Paul II was writing all that. I have that well of a memory of it. But, yeah, that makes he does travel a lot. No, thank you.
Yeah, and Catherine, you're free to hang up if you want. I just wanted to add a couple things that come to my mind. One is that Pope Francis he does a lot of things and says a lot of things that are unscripted. Right. His airplane flights are classic examples of this. You remember when someone asked him about homosexuality in the church, his famous comment, "Who am I to judge?" There's nothing wrong with that comment, but the secular media then take that he's kind of a darling of the media because, as I've often said, kind of only half jokingly, he's very good job security for those of us in Catholic radio, because he doesn't mind speaking his mind, sometimes off the cuff on the spur of the moment, and then we have to kind of come in and clean up the mess, not the mess that he makes, but the mess that the mainstream or the secular media might make in twisting or contorting what the Holy Father has said. So I think there's an anticipation on the part of the media and the world that what's he going to say next? What's he going to do next? And Debbie, with this particular topic, the ecology and the whole green movement, and I'm from the Pacific Northwest, the tree huggers and all that stuff. I mean, this is a hot button issue. So you've got a pope who's very candid, and the media and the world kind of wait for his next words, and he's speaking on a hot button issue. I think it makes for a perfect storm of all this interest that Catherine is talking about.
Well said, Jerry. That was perfectly said. You summed up everything I was thinking.
Well, average minds think alike. Catherine, is that helpful for you?
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for calling.
Thanks, Catherine.
800-585-9396. Jennifer joins us next on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Jennifer is calling from the beautiful state of Connecticut. Hello, Jennifer.
Hi, how are you today?
Doing well. How are you?
Hi, Jennifer.
Good, thank you. Hello. How are you?
Good,
so
good, thanks.
Good. I have not personally had a chance yet to read the Pope's new encyclical. I woke up this morning and got myself to work, but anyway, I've been anticipating this coming out, and I'm excited to hear that that the Pope draws parallels between the environment and how we treat human life. And I had an observation that I've been kind of that I haven't really asserted too much as a Catholic, and kind of linking it to my Catholic faith, although I felt that it's linked to my Catholic faith. But I think that the way that we nourish or don't nourish our bodies is also kind of runs in parallel to what in my opinion, to what the Pope is saying about the environment too, where if we feed ourselves with healthy nutrition, we respect our body with junk food and eat things that are actually nutritious to us, that's something that I think respects the temple of our body in the same way that I think that the Pope, is asking us to respect the environment and the ecology, but on a more, obviously personal scale, on a smaller scale. And I see that kind of tying into like Lent and how we give things that are unnecessary up. And also, like myself, I tend to eat very healthily, and like I bring these huge salads to lunch, and people say to me, oh my gosh, like, wow, that's a huge salad. And I'm realizing now that the Pope came out with this encyclical that I now have an easy opportunity, because everybody loves to talk about food, and I can say something like, yeah, I believe in respecting my body, and the Pope's encyclical and whatnot,
Mm-hmm. Right. Jennifer, you are speaking, this is ears. My husband and I have a blog. Yeah, absolutely. You are right on. Georgiani.com. My husband and I do a blog, and that's what we live to try and teach people about, that it starts with their own nutrition in their own bodies. It has to start, we have to start small with ourselves, because we are the temple of the Holy Spirit. And you are right on. I mean, you've got a whole, what you said in this call is a teaching, an absolute teaching in and of itself. I would definitely expand that and keep developing it, because you're on to something, Jennifer, and you're right on about it. Nutrition starts with us, and we have to start respecting ourselves enough and feeding ourselves clean food, and start. That's the first way to start respecting the environment, and then we move on to the bigger environment. And so you, wow, that was definitely music to my ears. So thank you. You are amazing.
Music to my ears that
Jerry?
Somebody else has been thinking the same way too. This is
Oh
great.
yeah, absolutely. No, you're right on. You're right on, and that you should be teaching that. Really telling your coworkers and your friends, because this is a movement now. People are very much aware that they need to start taking care of themselves. Self-care is the new healthcare. And we really need to educate people. So at being a good Catholic, I mean, we can be leaders in that and share people how to do this the right way and the healthy way and the natural, organic way. And I mean organic in the broader sense, that God left these certain beautiful fruits and vegetables untouched for us to consume, so that we can better our bodies and so that we can go out there and minister. And so that's of life. Way to go, Jennifer. Thanks for calling.
Thanks,
you made my
thanks
day.
for the call, Jennifer. Yeah, you really did make Debbie's day. Not sure about me. I'm a little more into the junk food, but I'm working. Debbie's working on that with me. So we're going to be a team in this. Jennifer, thanks for calling. 1-800-585-9396. Take two with Jerry and Debbie. We'll take one more call on the encyclical, then we got a break, and we're going to do a segment on the horrible shooting in South Carolina. So if you want to comment on that, share your takes on that shooting, any of the details that are coming out about that, what we can do to be Francis-like, to spread peace in the world, not violence. You can start calling on that right now at 1-800-585-9396. Bob is in Oklahoma City. Bob, you're on with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN.
Well, thank you very much for taking my call. No, concerning the Pope's encyclical on the environment, I find it interesting. I've noticed over the years that the media and some of the public generally pick and choose what they think the Pope is saying, hoping that it fits their narrative that the Catholic Church is finally changing their teaching. And at any other time, it doesn't seem as though it says, until he says something that might seem to fit their narrative that the Catholic Church is changing their teaching, or fits their narrative that diminishes the Catholic Church, or something of that nature. But so I don't know. It's just something I've noticed, that the news media seems to pick and choose what they think the Pope is saying and report it as such when they probably haven't even read the encyclical themselves. So I don't know. It's just something I've noticed, whether as much or not, I don't know. But anyway, that's just my thought on that.
Yeah, Bob, you make a good point there, and just we'll let you go. Got to get to a break here, but just to highlight the point that Bob is making, I think if I remember, it was, I don't know what year, it was 2000, maybe 2013, maybe Time Magazine named Pope Francis its Person of the Year, and I think their rationale was because of all that he had to say about maintaining traditional marriage between one man and one woman. The next year, when the Holy Father made that comment I alluded to earlier on the airplane about homosexual people with a homosexual tendency, when he said, "Who am I to judge?" Shortly after that, Advocate magazine, which is a gay magazine, named him its Person of the Year. So you could see how one statement by the Holy Father can be very badly misconstrued, and of course that's why it's important that we have shows like Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and all of the other broadcasts here on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. When we come back from the break, more on the terrible shooting, 9 people killed by a gunman. The apprehended, thanks be to God, no more harm can be done. But what was in his mind? What was in his heart? What motivated this? What can we do to maybe help eliminate violence from our world? These are some of the things we're going to talk about. We want your takes on them when we come back at 1-800-585-9396. Again, 1-800-585-9396. You are listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
"60 Seconds" with Mother Angelica.
I don't know if news is news anymore. Do you think it is? When you hear that they're going to clone a human being, you know, it's hard enough to put up with some people, let alone 2 of them. We seem to glorify sin, grievous sin these days, you see. But we say that the sin is worth it to do good. Now that doesn't make any sense, does it? The abortion clinics sell the little fetus $600, $700, $800, $900 a piece. First we murder the child and then we sell it. For what? Oh, well, it's going to cure an old woman. Well, you just killed a young one. True love is the best gift of all. Bye now.
The people you know and trust are on EWTN.
Tomorrow on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, our topic will be recapturing fatherhood. We're going to anticipate Father's Day on Sunday, and we have got a very, I think, a wonderful program planned for you. We are going to be talking about the state of fatherhood in the world today, in our culture, its place in the family, what fatherhood has always meant, that meaning, that definition has changed minds, and we're just trying to preserve that here, trying to recapture that, if you will. And we're going to be joined by our mutual good friend, Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers, tomorrow for a good chunk of the program. He is going to talk about fatherhood on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. So we look forward to that. Debbie, though, we're going to get back to this. So we've only got about 7 or 8 minutes left.
We
and
do.
We're going to get back.
Can I just interrupt real quickly?
Sure.
Just because I know we're going to shift topics just a minute, but I wanted just to share that on take2show.com, we're going to be posting the 2 prayers at the end of that Pope Francis has asked us to pray. They're beautiful prayers, and I would encourage all of our listeners to maybe print those out and to share them at adult formation groups, so that we can start praying this together, one big Catholic Christian body, and that Pope Francis has asked us to do. So now we can shift topics. Okay.
Yeah, well, those prayers are on take2show.com. And there is also going to be, if not already, there's going to be a link to read the entire encyclical. And that's something else. Dear friends, dear listeners, so many times I'm guilty of it. We're all guilty of it. The church puts out a document, Vatican II documents. How many people have claimed to speak in the name of Vatican II? The rest of us
never read the documents. Yeah.
Oh, that's what it meant. Oh, okay.
Yep.
You know what? Roll up your sleeves, open your eyeballs, and read for yourself, because the church is beautiful and her expositions on all of this stuff. We need to really read it for ourselves and be able to articulate it to those who get confused by the conflicting messages that they hear in the world around them. But again, we're going to spend the remaining several minutes of today's broadcast just kind of re-summarizing, if you will, at least what we know, Debbie, about this shooting in South Carolina. It boggles my mind. You know, I've been thinking years about this, been wondering, has the day come we need to have some sort of security in our Catholic churches? And I'm thinking of, Debbie, the countries in some world where there are, say, Muslim attacks, or other people go into Catholic churches and bomb them and shoot people and all this. And I've wondered in my own mind, I've never articulated this as I am right now, but have we come to a time when we need to consider something like that? Because, Debbie, this young man, he walked in, apparently he just fit right in, although he was a white young man in a predominantly black church, but still, he just pretended to be very comfortable, apparently, and just a part of what was going on, the Bible study, I think it was. And Debbie, all of a sudden, no idea what is just about to unfold, and that their lives are about to end. It's just senseless, absolutely senseless.
It's completely unbelievably tragic, and it breaks your heart to read even just a portion of the story. I try to think about is, how beautiful was it that this community at this church was having this Bible study, and they welcomed this young boy in. This boy sat amongst them and obviously either observed or participated in the Bible study, and then began shooting them. It breaks my heart to think that the pastor of this parish, Reverend Pickney, and his congregation have suffered such a great loss, and how sad and tragic this is. And the children that were involved, they're the ones that obviously got out and were safe, thanks be to God. I mean, what kind of, how is this going to impact them? I mean, these kids are going to, this has so many years to be cleaned up, this boy did, and this is now on his soul. And this is a mess, an absolute mess. I'm pleased that the FBI or the police captured him, but now this boy his soul is definitely, we need to pray for his.
Well, yeah, and the rest of his life is now already determined, more or less. I mean, I suppose there could be an insanity plea or something, but Debbie and I have been kind of parsing through some of the stories that are online right now, and again, a lot of unconfirmed things that are floating around out there. But one of the things that I'm looking at, Debbie, is on thedailybeast.com, and about Dylan Roof apparently wore pro-apartheid flags. It says he held strong conservative beliefs. Well, again, those are buzzwords. I mean, that can lump a lot of us together, because many of us are conservative in a lot of ways. But apparently, he made a lot of racist jokes. But what you pointed out earlier, he had been in trouble with the law. One of those times was for a controlled substance, another time for trespassing. These are not world-shattering offenses that he had committed, but still, Debbie, where are the people kind of paying attention to the signs in a young person like this?
Well, Jerry, that's what upsets me about this whole entire story. I mean, this boy, if you look at him from the pictures, he has a bowl cut. I mean, he looks like this average kid, 21 years old, and he's very slender and very very kind of small, and he looks that he's just. He doesn't have a mean bone in his body when you look at him from the outside. But all these other clues, I mean, if any of these reports are coming in that they are going to be confirmed, I mean, if this boy was in trouble with the law, a problem with drugs, if he was maybe had a problem his with his peers or with his friends or at school or whatever, why weren't the adults around him taking notice? I mean, I certainly would not be gifting him a .45 caliber pistol when this is a very troubled youth, and where are the adults around this to say, hey, something's wrong here? I always have a problem. Everybody has this syndrome, not my Johnny. Everybody goes, not my Johnny. No, that can't happen to my Johnny. It's a little termed phrase of that's not happening with my kid. But pay attention. I mean, obviously this kid gave out clues, and something should have been done. I think sometimes them alone, they'll grow out of it, or it's just a phase they're going. Well, obviously not. I mean, now this is tragic and has affected so many lives. And now this could cause, super amounts of a storm raging, even a race situation or whatever. This is just horrible. And this us to wake up and see that our youth, if they're calling out, we've got to listen and respond immediately before something tragic happens.
Very well put, Debbie. As we wind up the program today, we each like to share a takeaway. My takeaway is going to be really on the encyclical by Pope Francis. It has yet to kind of fully unfold and resonate. It's like so many things that the church and the popes put out. It could take a long, long time for us to really let it soak in and for let its meaning to come across. But I just really believe I see this as almost a cutting-edge document by Pope Francis. That's my takeaway, and we'll see how the world receives it.
My takeaway is prayer. Lots of prayer. We need it right now for our youth. We need it for the around our youth who are shepherding them. We need lots of prayer right now. Let's join together, storm heaven to change this world.
Keep the conversation going at Take Two Show on Twitter. You'll find the archive on our website, take2show.com. And again, tomorrow on the Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, recapturing fatherhood as we head into Father's Day weekend. May God bless you. Thanks for being a part of the program.